must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Fellow Africans, every time we are challenged on matters of importance, there is always a path for redemption. The only thing that Kenya needs at the moment is redemption. It's a redemption strategy that can create a coexistence of all the people, all the tribes, all regions, and all shades of opinions. Challenges come at an hour where a country is on a test. Test runs are always the most crucial points. That's where experiments collapse. Kenya is not an experiment. Kenya is a nation that has existed for 56 years. The challenges, therefore, should not make us hate each other. These challenges should unite us, should unite the people of Kenya to push forward an agenda, to follow their president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in delivering the agenda for a better Kenya. A better Kenya will produce a better East Africa. A better East Africa will produce a better Africa. The challenges, the obstacles that come amongst us are many, but we can overcome them through discussion, a wider range of discussion, wider disagreements to agree and disagree, to agree again and disagree to disagree. But we should not form clubs, units, militias, hatred of that nature that can take us to the history. Germany today is Germany because it doesn't want to go to the path of the history. Germany goes to the path of development. Over 70 years ago, Germany was at war with the entire world. Today, it is on the path of resolving some of the problems that come. I want us to stand in the place of Germany and look forward and backwards. See what we can do here, but not yearn for what is in Rome. What is in Rome is safeguarded, but in Sicily, which is Kenya, we need to build a foundation for the younger generation that we are going to live here today. The many who have no employment, the poverty, the ignorance, the diseases that kill the people of Africa. We need to find a modium of operation. Modus operandi. The only modus operandi on this is a united, peaceful Kenya. A Kenya united by values of respect and adherence to the rule of law. A Kenya without schemes of elimination or fiction of elimination or murders written by themselves. A Kenya without any hatred against the president. A Kenya that supports the constitutional roots that the 2010 constitution of yours brought. That is how Africa will rise and shine again. Thank you.
Very good morning to you and welcome to the show. It is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu and we are coming to you from Nairobi, in case you're wondering and you're watching us up across the globe. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in at today, being the 1st of December 2020, a day that also marks the World HIV and AIDS Day today. And of course, the figures there are quite staggering in terms of infection. I was watching some news a piece last night, and it showed that there has been an increase of new infections. So that is also a very important conversation that perhaps we should be having because the prevalence rate is quite high across the continent of Africa. But before we get into that, I'd like to bring us up to date with what is happening in terms of COVID-19 statistics and where we stand this morning in Kenya. The confirmed cases right now stands at 83,618 cases. The death toll is 1,469 cases. Recoveries right now is at 55,344, and Uganda 20,456 cases. 205 people have died. Recoveries is at 8,989, and I'll just skip the rest and look at the total cases in Africa this morning, standing at 1,732,300, and the number of deaths that have been reported in the continent right now standing at 58,112. And recoveries in Africa is at 1,383,557. The global cases have surpassed 63.5 million cases. The death toll has surpassed 1.4 million, and the global recoveries right now have surpassed 43.9 million. So let's just get that out of the way. And of course, our topic for discussion this morning is BBI, why push for constitutional changes is unstoppable. And on the panel this morning, we are joined by Kidi Mwaga, a lawyer based in Nairobi. Kidi, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam, and nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and thank you for joining us this morning. And also we are joined by Douglas Budi from Meru. Douglas, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, my friend Sean. Good morning, my friend Kidi Mwaga. Good morning, my Facebook friend, and I also met at one time Wakiri Rebecca Orari and my good friend Jevan. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our viewers across the world. And also good morning to our people in Meru.
All right, very well. So will it be appropriate if I introduced you as an aspiring politician or a politician? Which one are you?
Yes, because I ran in the last election and
so you are a politician.
I had to go back to the drawing board.
Oh, too bad they stopped your reggae, but maybe reggae was just paused. It might continue, but who knows? And then we're also joined by Daniel Wesonga. Daniel, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters in Nairobi. A very good morning to my friend, lawyer Kidi Mwaga, Douglas Bundi, Kirimi, Rebecca Orare, and Javan Karanja in Nanyuki. Good morning.
And we are also joined by Javan Karanja from Nanyuki. Javan, good morning.
A very good morning, Miriam, and good morning to Akili Kidi Mwanga, Douglas Bundi, and Wesonga, and Rebecca. And a good morning to our viewers wherever they are watching us from. It's a very good morning. Thank you.
All right, very well. And last but certainly not least, today we are joined by a guest panelist in the name of Rebecca Orare. I'm told Orare, is it? I'm told she's a youth leader as well as a lawyer. Rebecca, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Miriam. I am Orare. It is a TC name, okay. But I have been a student here at the University of Nairobi. I am also a lawyer joining the Kenya School of Law. And it is a pleasure to be here in the morning, this morning with, my very sharp uh, co-panelists to discuss about issues that affect our country. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And that is the good news today. I'm not by myself. Usually I'm overnumbered. Well, we're still overnumbered, but at least I have a lady on the panel today to help me out. So, Rebecca, please have my back today. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's really nice. It's really nice to have you on the show. All right, so let's just get into it. And we start by looking at the headlines this morning. And the Star newspaper, the main headline there says how Karua and Kibwana intend to stop the BBI push. Figure wananchi unlikely to cheer a 540-member parliament. Let's see that story on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper, and it says, a well-coordinated plan is afoot to throw into a disarray President Uhuru Kenyatta's and Raila Odinga's push to amend the constitution. The Star has established a section of the political elite and influential civil society players have teamed up and launched a multi-pronged strategy to stop the BBI process. If they succeed, scuttling BBI could deal a staggering blow to Uhuru and Raila. The plan involves mounting legal battles in court, calling for street protests, and if that doesn't work, leading a robust and no campaign. That sounds like something Raila would do, but he's no longer doing that. So we've seen a new crop of people who are not agreeing with the BBI. I'll start with you, Kidi. The BBI process, is it possible to stop it where it has already reached?
Well, before I proceed, let me say, a big welcome, to send a big welcome to my sister, Rebecca Orare. She is a brilliant lawyer I have had the privilege of running into before. And when she has joined Punchline, then Punchline has tapped into a wonderful talent. Mm-hmm. Away from that, I will say that the BBI process is both a political process and a legal process. A constitution-making process by its very nature is something that derives its legitimacy from the people. And any attempt to disassociate it from the people is an attempt that is going to fail. You realize that there is this celebrated case of Timothy Njoya and 6 others versus the AG, when the judiciary attempted to stop a constitution-making process. This time round, because Professor Kibwana has attempted to go to court, one thing we must tell Professor Kibwana is that the people have got the right to write their constitution, to stop writing their constitution, or the right to, design the country they want to be in. Sometimes, in the understanding of Professor, the professor may think that Kenyans are not getting it right, but we cannot take that right from the people. So, in a simple answer, the answer is the BBI process where it is now. It is unstoppable because it has gone to the people. And as Kenneth Matiba would say, and you permit me to reiterate, is that let the people decide.
Mm-hmm. All right, very well. Thank you so much, Kidi Mwanga there. So the story continues, and yesterday civil society players won a major victory in their bid to stop the referendum after the High Court dismissed government efforts to kill a case challenging the law change. Now, Kenya Party leader Martha Karua and Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana are the political faces of the movement. The two are working closely with economist David Ndii and former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, which I don't know why I'm surprised, and other veteran civil society players. Ndii used to be a Raila strategist. Now, Raila told the Star yesterday she is ready to lead the No campaign with humility and without hesitation. I am willing to set to lead the No campaigns, and we are calling on all Kenyans to resist the illegitimate, illegal, and ill-timed constitutional amendment initiative. So finally, Douglas, we have a leader for the No campaign.
Miriam, thank you for this chance. But we have said time and again, in politics, you have to see what is being said and what is not being written, even in newspapers. And when you see a politician, you should also see what they are trying to represent. The people that are reading the No campaign are proxies of Deputy President William Ruto. William Ruto is fighting the BBI process from every side. Those are his friends. The civil society today, as we know it, is no longer fighting for an equal and a just Kenya. We have seen these people before who have gone ahead to declare that they are going to protect the constitution, saying that the constitution is okay. But remember, the amendments in constitutions across the world cannot be stopped because a constitution is a living document and it has to be alive to the needs and also problems and also strengths and aspirations of the people. Remember, Kenya is not the first country to change their constitution. There are countries that have changed their constitutions amidst the chaos and also when the people wanted to change their constitution to suit their needs as per that time. Remember, when we made this constitution in 2010, we wanted to have a constitution of our own, that is our own inbred constitution, that is not the British constitution that we have had for many, many, many years. But in 2010, we came up with our own document that we said this document is not complete, but we have to go and change it. But today we are having, we have to vote for it, then we can be able to make changes as we go on. And people accepted and they voted for it. But now we have a people that are determined to stop this constitutional moment. And who are these people? The same people in 2010 who didn't want to support the constitutional making process are here again trying to stop the same constitution that they stopped in 2010 from going forward. So Miriam, I'm very blunt and very open when I say that there is no leader for the no campaign. They have no impetus, they have no strength, they have no nothing. What they have is an hand, that is, they are a puppet of a master that is behind them. And we also need to tell ourselves the truth. As Kenyans, we have always said an on consensus constitutional moment or referendum is not possible because they are the same people, intellectuals and also lawyers and civil society and also ordinary people cannot all agree. We cannot be bundled in together into some process like the BBI process. So we have to have people who are opposing this thing and also people who are supporting this thing. Right. But I'm happy to report that where I am from and where I come from and from where I sit this morning, we support the BBI amendments and also we support the referendum. But the people that want to go ahead and oppose the BBI process, and in as much as they are proxies of some people, then they have the constitutional rights to go forward.
Absolutely.
But we need to stop Miriam, our leader, William Ruto, from interfering with the BBI process and also declare his stand. Okay. If he wants to go to the no camp, he can form his own camp and also support the government. But if he doesn't want to support the government, it is his constitutional right. But we need to call him out for who he is.
Okay, thank you so much, Douglas Budi. You're saying these people, they are pretending. There may not be a leader there. But Martha Karua, Rebecca, has come out and said, you know what, I'll take on the challenge. I think I'm the person for this job to lead the no campaign against this BBI process that she says is illegitimate and is ill-timed as well as illegal. Rebecca, is Martha Karua able to marshal the support she needs to stop this BBI process?
First of all, from the two speakers who have spoken, that is Kidi and Bundi, you can clearly tell that it is very hard to separate politics and the constitutional process. Because again, you know, the constitutional process is a process that we are supposed to be sober as we walk through it. But now, not being sober, the issue is you find that we will miss issues here and there. However, if we ask if Martha Karua is good for the job, the answer is yes. I am a woman and I would support a fellow woman. She is. She's good for the job. She has experience. She has worked with governments. I tend to trust in her intellect as a lawyer over time. She has been in the country through major constitutional changes. And I believe with that, for me, if she stood up and convinced me, yes, I would be convinced. She does have locus. However, the question is this. I would ask as a Kenyan, can we trust her to have the agenda of us as a people at heart? Because again, the BBI, I believe, has a thing or two that we can borrow from. So is she actually having the agenda of this country at heart, or is she just taking advantage of the moment?
Mm-hmm. All right, very well. And Daniel, how will you respond to that? Is Martha Karua just taking advantage of the moment and her leading the No campaign, that she has the agenda of the country at heart, as Rebecca there is asking? And does she have the capabilities really to lead the No campaign and see it successfully defeat the other side?
Miriam, one thing that we have to come to terms with is that this BBI conversation, you cannot discuss it devoid of the politics of the day. And as it is right now, a new page of history is being written in this country. And you understand, just like the 205 referendum debacle, it will mark and put some realignments to the politics of 2022. And therefore, people who are not seeing their prospects being quite catered for in the other camp, the president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, perhaps they're trying to look for somewhere else where they can be able to master their support from. And therefore, this particular debate is really a complicated one. And perhaps the politics of 2022 have a very, very big foray in it. And therefore, what we believe, even we talk about it, is that perhaps a majority of politicians really are trying to align themselves in preparations to 2022 presidential election. And that is why my friend Douglas has said that perhaps the Deputy President William Ruto might be having a very big stake in these people who are lining up as the antagonists of the referendum. So in the end of the day, we cannot separate politics from it, as Rebecca and Kitty says. So it's all about the 2022 realignments. And at the end of the day, whoever wins that particular referendum will have an upper hand when it comes to 2022. And therefore, we can never separate the two.
All right, very well. And still continuing with that story, Jevan, it says it's not clear if there is any nexus between the civil society players and Deputy President William Ruto. That is the story on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. And Dundee has previously said he is willing to team up with Ruto to defeat the dynasties. Several months ago, he indeed attempted to convince the Kenya Human Rights Commission, the leading rights NGO, the both KHRC and civil society, should work with Mr. Ruto. Lawyer Makamu to said of Ndii in a Sunday Nation op-ed. It has also emerged that Ruto faces a massive dilemma in dealing with his allies who insist they will lead the no campaigns, despite the DP appearing to suggest that he will support the BBI. Kibwana, who has been working with Ruto, has stated that he will oppose the referendum. And we know Deputy President William Ruto is supposed to be meeting with over 150 members of parliament allied to him tomorrow so that they can have a clear way forward as a team. So let's wait and see how that will play out. But on this one, Javan, what do you make of it? Martha Karua is saying, you know what, I'm the person for this job. I'm leading this no campaign.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. And I think we cannot despise anybody and say that they are not fit for the job, because at the end of the day, they are Kenyans and their voice must be heard. Therefore, if Martha Karua feels that he has what it takes to oppose and do it successfully, then let her go for the job. Because, Miriam, we cannot have a document that we all agree to consensus about. At the end of the day, even if William Ruto agrees to have a consensus with the former Prime Minister and Uhuru Kenyatta, we'll have other Kenyans who will be unsatisfied with the document. And if the face of that people is Martha Karua and Kivuda Kibwana and David D, then they are fit to do the job. And Miriam, at the end of the day, and as the Star is saying, we cannot distinguish whether there is a very thin line between the civil society of the today that led by Boniface Mwangi and the Deputy President. Therefore, at the end of the day, these people are working from the Deputy President corners, because we know the Deputy President is a man who stands from different points at the same time. He is a man who stands for the win-win situation. Therefore, he sits at two sides at the same point. He is on the consensus, and at the same time he is opposing. And his opposing machineries are led by the Martha Karua. And we know, Miriam, the civil society even in the 2010, they came out clearly opposing the 2010 constitution. And they have not told us where these things, the 20% that was not fit, that was said to be not good for this country, when it was amended and rectified. Therefore, they are working out of these are coordinated move to ensure that they remain relevant. Because at the end of the day, if they support the document, they might end up losing some allowances from who sponsors them. Therefore, they are working, that is their personal interest. That is somewhere some of them get some finances. Therefore, they must continue doing their job as they are supposed to do by their masters. Therefore, there is nothing much we can expect. But at the end of the day, Miriam, will have people opposing the document, whether it's Mother Karua or any other person. Will not all of us Kenyans agree to have a consensus on a document, especially the BBI or a constitutional amendment process that cuts across the 47 million Kenyans? Therefore, as it stands now, we'll go for a contested referendum. Whether Deputy President agrees to support the document or not, other Kenyans will continue opposing the document. Because, Miriam, even you look at the signature collection, you'll see that there are some regions that are quite supporting the document and others are not in for the document. Therefore, this to show that we'll have no and yes are going for that. But Miriam, Mother Karua and William Ruto currently are working from the same camp. Thank you.
Miriam.
All right.
Miriam, as I enjoyed that what Sean and Karanja have said, I have something to say. I want to speak to my friend Roya Rebecca, who I respect very much. We cannot separate constitutional making processes with politics of the day. I want to take us back very quickly in 1961 and 1960s when we were making the constitution of 1963 that ended Kenya independence. That after those people left the Lancaster House, the first conference and the second conference, after they left the house, the first conference, I think in 1961 and 1962, there came two groups. They came the Kano group and the Kandu group. Afterwards, we went on, let's rush and went and go to 2005. When we went to 2005, we on the president's side and also the side that was led by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who was the Minister for Finance. He led the No campaign. After that, ODM was born in 2005. In that contested yes and banana and orange constitutional movement. After that time, we went to 2007, and like Sean said, it set a very good precedence for 2007 when President Kibaki and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and a very hotly contested election. In 2010, we and people who were supporting the church and William Ruto were opposing the document that became the constitution, the most progressive constitution across the world, the constitution of 2010. After 2010, there are people who went on to build their careers. Kiraito went to Kisumu with the Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Kiraito said the Katiba Bureau, and the people of Kisumu voted for the constitution. And Kiraito came back to Meru and said, now I have brought the new constitution. You saw me in Kisumu saying Katiba Bureau, vote for me as a senator. And we cannot separate our politics from the constitutional moment. That's why the story that we are discussing today, the story of Mother Karua and David Ide and Boniface Mwangi. Why is Boniface Mwangi? Boniface Mwangi is a politician. Why is David Ide not the face of Linda Katiba? They have to put a political face there. Why is BBI not led by Dr. Mwangi, who was and Professor Andam Soro? We have to bring the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta for us to have a discourse in this country. Kenya is such a political country. And even in Switzerland and other countries, the lawyers who are my friends here can tell me, I didn't make it to go to law school. I went to a business school, but I know one thing about constitutional making. We cannot separate politics of the day from that. And when people speak as politicians and also as a people, we need to hear what the people of Meru are saying without necessarily listening to their voices.
All right,
so, Miriam, my take is, and to my friend Roya Rebecca, we cannot be able to separate the politics of the day from our constitutional making processes.
All right, absolutely. Thank you, Douglas. I did not know that.
Could I give a rebuttal to that, please?
Go ahead, Rebecca.
First of all, the best thing about this space is we get to learn new things every day. And yeah, I feel educated on one or two things. But my statement, I made it from a point of concern because we have other issues that we need to address.
Like which one, Rebecca?
We need to look. we need to look at our economy as a country. We need to look at, there's an upcoming narrative of the hustler nation that actually needs to be addressed. If we are to be patriotic and reasonable citizens, we need to understand that politics is nice and understand, and the conflict and the space is really nice and getting to share our resources. But as a country, we also need to focus on development. We have 4 months to actually move with the BBI document and the recommendations made there. We need to read, understand, and have a forward-looking mentality. So even as politicians, we need to understand, yes, we may politic as much as we do, but we also need to understand that it is our responsibility to ensure that the country actually develops and moves. We have better education, we need to have better healthcare. These are the things that we need to focus on. And that's why I'm saying, in as much as it is a moment that it has politics in it, yes, we need to come out of the politics. We need to overlook the politics and look at the status of the country.
All right. Thank you.
And the future as well.
Thank you. Kidi, actually, I wanted to bring you in, so maybe after asking you this question, you can tie it with the response from Rebecca and also Douglas there. So Karua said Kenyans are ready to reject what she termed as a legitimate attempt to overthrow the 2010 constitution. The NAC Kenya leader insisted that a popular initiative process to amend the constitution cannot be initiated by state actors using public resources. So we've seen her call this process illegitimate, ill-timed, unconstitutional. From the legal perspective, does her argument hold some water? And also maybe you could start by responding to that point you wanted to respond to from Rebecca.
Let me first say that Martha Karua is being disingenuous. Disingenuous because they are acting or carrying themselves, people who are supposedly opposed to the BBI process, they are carrying themselves with this demeanor that those who are supporting the referendum don't either belong to this country as do, or just plain don't get it. But then they are failing to appreciate where we are coming from. Because the support of the BBI process, our support for the BBI process was the premise of the support for the handshake. But then you realize that a lot of folks who are opposed to the BBI process have predicated their opposition to the fact that they were not invited to that BBI table, the handshake table. Because you realize the way the president and the prime minister designed the handshake and the subsequent BBI process is that they locked out what I would call political brokers, of course, with absolute due respect, because we witnessed the grandstanding that the likes of Martha Karua and William Ruto brought to the Serena talks of 2007-2008. And in 2018, when the two principals closed ranks, they were keen to avoid a continued political impasse that could heighten political temperatures at that point in time. You remember during Serena talks, there was heightened political tension while Kofi Annan was trying to shuttle between the two principals. So that it had to take coming of President Bush in Tanzania and sending of President Kikwete, who was then the chairman of the African Union, to come with a direct message from President Bush. And that is when we broke the impasse. So that is what we're avoiding in 2018. Subsequently, you look at people like Ndi, Dr. Ndi, an intellectual in this country whom I have immense respect for. But you listen to Dr. Ndi speak, and with all his brilliance, but you get the impression that Dr. Ndi is having an opportunity to settle personal scores. It is a matter of public knowledge that Dr. Ndi has had this personal grudge against the Kenyattas, so that he has refused to step down from this high horse of personal hatred for the Kenyattas, so that anyone who works with the Kenyattas or President Kenyatta is then in his world deemed as an evil person. Dr. Ndi may definitely know better than I do because he has experience, he has been in the game longer than some of us who are just coming in. But one thing we would say plainly to Dr. Ndi, and of course respectfully, is that there comes a time when we must put personal interest aside and work for the best interest of the country. In this point in time, the BBI process one was seeking to reconfigure our political architecture. The last 8 years has demonstrated that the political architecture as it is disastrous. But then they've chosen the path of poisoning that as something that is out of touch with the people. Then the question is, whom do they run to act as their political figurehead? They run to William Ruto. So the next question is William Ruto genuine? I will tell you, and demonstrate why he's not genuine. That William Ruto today comes out to tell us that the political establishment is out of touch with the reality. But this is someone who has been in parliament since 1992. There is no single day William Ruto has spoken for the less fortunate, for the children who have not had a fair shot in life. So that he is therefore speaking about them because he has been jettisoned out of the political equation. So that demonstrates that if and when William Ruto were to get in and settle comfortably politically, he will forget about the poor people. So that a time has come for us, we the people of Kenya, to make sure that we put in place one, a political equation that can ensure that we hold those to whom we have donated our sovereignty accountable. And that is why, in my estimation, I would have wanted a pure parliamentary system, but now that we've made progress and moved from pure presidential to hybrid system, I think this is a golden opportunity that we cannot waste. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much, Oko Ajake. You're watching us from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much for watching. And Meshach Odede, good morning to you. You're saying it is not possible to stop the constitutional amendment in court or on the streets. The team of Karua, Kivuda, and even Ruto should go to the people and convince them to say no. That is if they have the people. And Tankoi Adam, thank you so much for watching us this morning. You're saying, I support Martha Karua 100%. Kenya have very important things to do, not to shift goalposts for someone who has always lost election. President may have a heart of building bridges, but his counterpart has a very different intention. Tankoi, we know that DP Ruto was against this process from the word go. And I see here you're talking about shifting goalposts, but now he also seems to be shifting his goalposts. So what do you say about that? And also just tying to what Kidi has said there, Daniel, people, would you say from what Kidi there has said, for some political players, it's not about whether they support the BBI or not, but it is some, personal, they need to settle some personal scores with some of these people, and especially those who have not healed from that handshake that locked them out.
First of all, Miriam, I agree totally with what Kidi has said. And when you look at the chronology of events, someone like Professor Kivuta Kibwana, at the onset of the BBI debate, he was pro-handshake, he was with the president and the former prime minister. But as soon as these two individuals started bringing more people on board, the likes of Alfred Mutua, Charity Ngilu, Kalonzo Musyoka, he felt perhaps disgruntled that maybe so many players were coming on board, and perhaps he felt that his prospects were not well catered for at that particular point in time. And therefore, he had to look for an alternative vehicle where he would be able to have perhaps his future ambitions in. And to me, I think this whole debate about those people who are opposing the BBI report, it's all about either trivial personal score that they want to score. And for the case of Dr. David Ndii, we have been out there, we've been seeing whatever he's been tweeting about the president, and all his talk about the president has been reeling of very bitter personal embattlement with the president. And therefore, we can never see him as a man who is genuinely opposing an agenda which he deems to be not of the interest of the people, but rather we see him as a person who has always had some scathing attacks, personal attacks to the president and his family. When you look at the person of Deputy President William Ruto, it seems to be he seems to be someone who is so much determined about the 2022 presidential ambitions, and is what has always pervaded his vision when it comes to discussing about the BBI agenda. And I can tell you, Miriam, as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, that if tomorrow the question of 2022 presidential ambition, his question of the 2022 presidential ambition will be catered for and envisaged in the BBI report, William Ruto will give his unwavering support to the BBI report. But because he is so much interested about inheriting absolute power, then he cannot unconditionally support the BBI report. Martha Karua is the same case, because she feels, as Kidi says, she feels that she was not consulted, she was not invited on the table, and therefore she doesn't see that perhaps her demands and her ambitions will be properly catered for in this other side of the political divide. Therefore, she has no other way to oppose the process. That is my take.
All right, very well, thank you. And of course, just continuing with that story, yesterday Ruto fought off claims by his critics that he had turned into a watermelon in the BBI process, insisting tremendous progress had been achieved in the push for a non-contested referendum. It is never too late to do the right thing. Consensus on remaining issues and process so as to have a non-divisive vote is the best option, Ruto tweeted. There are concerns within Ruto's camp that he risks losing the church, the Muslims, and the civil society groups seen as key pillars of his initial anti-BBI push. He has been banking on them for his 2022 presidential ambitions. Ruto on Wednesday is to hold talks with Tanga leaders at his current home to appraise them of his decision to back a referendum. This follows his shocking move to throw his weight behind the push to change the constitution. I mean, the balancing act there for DP Ruto must be very difficult. Remember, this is a process that he has demonized for the last 2 years. And one of the key things that he really does not like that has been captured there on the BBI is expanded executive. And some of the demands that he made, majority of them were included in the changes there on the BBI report. But that was the key thing that DP Ruto wanted changed, that was not even touched. But now he has to convince the people that has been supporting his position all this time why he has made a U-turn. That must be some daunting work there, Jevon.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And we must agree that from what the Deputy President have done by going to support the document of the BBI, you know, these are documents that he has used his energy resources for the last 2 years to fight and to make sure that it does not see the light of the day. And when he just makes that a U-turn, Miriam, for a politician of his status, then he brings a lot of confusion even to his followers. And Miriam, you'll see that members of his Tanga team, some of them are supporting, like the former CS for Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri, has turned a U-turn with the Deputy President, and he says that he is supporting the document. But the likes of Moses Kuria, the likes of Dedi Nyoro, they are still confused. They don't know whether to continue opposing the document or to support the document. Therefore, for his own, even his political career, he has brought a lot even to the narrative that he has already created that was about to take momentum, Miriam. He went around preaching the gospel of pastoralism. But as it stands now, the pastoralism agenda has been disconstructed. And therefore, he portrays himself as a politician who does not stand for any concrete principle or ideology for that matter. Because, Miriam, you can't just go to support a document when a few changes were made that are not even that significant. Because we must look at the changes that he is saying that were made. And one of these changes is IBC. And they changed from the political party nominating the commissioners to a panel doing that. And Miriam, the panel that will nominate these commissioners will be nominated by the politicians. Therefore, there is nothing much that have changed. And in the case of the police, the National Police Council, that was removed from the document to continue the National Commission, Police Commission that we have currently. You look at it currently, you'll see a number of them, and you look at even yesterday when Mike Sonko was arrested. The same people are telling us that the CS, Fred Matiang'i, is using power to intimidate them, the people in opposition per se, because they are not in the opposition, but they assumed the roles of opposition, or they're still in the government. And they're saying that the CS Matiang'i is using powers. In the time when we had the contest shares revenue allocation formula in the Senate, we saw the likes of Malala and all that drama that was happening. Therefore, in this issue of the police, you cannot do away with the CS of Interior Security. Whether he is not coordinating the police directly, he will do it indirectly because he has been given that mandate. Therefore, on the matter of police council, he cannot tell us that he is supporting because that thing was removed from that clause was removed from the BBI document. Because at the end of the day, they have been complaining of police intimidation when we don't even have the National Police Council. Therefore, for me, I feel like the deputy president has just acted because he had reached the point in the political career where he had no point to retreat into, and he felt like he better abandon the hustlers, he better abandon everything else and support the BBI document, because that is where he feels like his interest will be well addressed at the future if the BBI will see the light of the day, because we have a seat for the official opposition, we have the prime minister, and maybe in future he intends maybe not run for the presidency, but to go for the prime minister, and I think for their personal interest. And this shows that most of our politicians, they don't stand for anything concrete. They just go where they feel that their interests are well captured, are well catered for. And that is the sad thing with our politics. Because even you look at the likes of David D, they have nothing, they don't have anything concrete against the BBI. They are not saying that the BBI is doing this or that, or it is affecting the 2020 constitution to a point where it will be curtailed not even to work. But they are just doing it from what they feel will favor them. Therefore, at the end of the day, let Kenyans be given that an opportunity to read the document, understand, without all this noise that is going around. And at the end of the day, Kenyans will have the final say on the determination of whether the BBI will be implemented or it will be taken back to the drawing board. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Karanja, there from Nanyuki. Now let's turn our attention to the Daily Nation. And of course, the same story, the BBI, and the headlines there say, fresh BBI demands by Ruto men. And down there it says, the framing of the referendum questions is the next battlefront, with the DP's camp suggesting that every contentious issue be voted on separately to avoid throwing out the baby with the bathwater by railroading the bill with offensive clauses. And we know Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta wanted just one vote, but Ruto's camp are now saying, no, we need these, is it 74 articles be voted on per article. How will that look like, Rebecca, and are they honest really in their bid to support the BBI?
I would just say, no, it does not look practical from where I sit, and just that, not practical.
So you might have how many ballot papers? About what, 74 of them? Or how are you going to tick this, Kitty? Help me understand. Is Kitty there? All right.
Yes.
Okay.
One, I've had suggestions that a number of the suggestions of the things that are proposed in the BBI bill are not relevant, and that therefore, as it is, that the BBI is going to open up a path of illegally revising our constitution. And I think that is a fallacy that we must call out. And some folks are intimidating us that they've been in the game longer and therefore they know better. Well, truth is, no one has monopoly of knowledge. And in spite of our young age, we will say this, that there are two options. One, we can have what is called a case-by-case question and answer in the BBI in the referendum. So that if it is the Youth Commission you want, you tick. If you don't want the other one, you reject. But then also the other option is to have an omnibus model, where when you say yes, then you agree to the entire suggestions by the BBI team. And if you say no, then you reject the entire suggestions by the BBI team. I think that is a debate that we will engage in going forward. because I appreciate, as much as I am pro BBI, I am also cautious not to want to have a BBI that is conducted in a bellicose environment that therefore locks out everyone who may not agree with me. But I think that we, the people who support BBI, have got the mandate to convince our colleagues who are anti-BBI, of course, with the force of reason, with the calm and understanding, so that we win them over, that we pass the document, make the progress that we anticipate through the BBI, and then the things that still will require further work to do, we shall do that as we proceed. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Tankoi, you're saying, from my point of view, Ruto raised very important issues in the Bomas. Look at how two handshake brothers listened at Bomas. They were convinced, and indeed issue raised were indeed pertinent. All right. It wasn't easy to push for amendments when Raila had vowed not to even a word would be amended. Thanks to President, amendments were made that were important. Though to me, I will reject it because of one reason: burden to Kenya to pay additional members of parliament. Ruto can even say tomorrow, I support the BBI 100%, but you guys will be discussing him throughout the day. All right, Tanko, you are discussing the BBI process, and of course, DP Ruto is an important player in this process, so that's why we talk about it, and we're looking at the newspapers, and we've looked at Martha Karua and other people, so calm down. We're just having an open discussion, all right, and continue commenting and continue going through your comments this morning. So, Daniel, the DP is still calling for consensus, and now these new demands of the multiple referendum questions, we've not had as such before, so maybe this will be a first, but also they're still hopeful for a consensus.
Yes, Miriam, the PBA task force had a very interactive and very long public participation period. And for a record, we had over 93 public participation forums that were held. And on top of that, they even accepted emails to them, written to them, and also written memoranda being submitted to their offices at the KICC. And therefore, it gave every Kenyan a very ample opportunity to present their views before the task force. And those views, which were deemed to be quite viable to this, to solve the 9-point agenda that were born out of the handshake, were considered into the document. And therefore, I think the timing is very, very suspect. And also that takes you now to the question of whether the Deputy President and his allies really have the goodwill and intention are well aligned to whatever the BBI process is meant to achieve. And to me, according to me, Miriam, I think these are people who are just playing some delay tactics with this entire process, and with the hope that perhaps with their theatrics, the entire BBI process will be bogged into push and pull process, and at the end of it all, we shall not be able to achieve whatever objectives that were set to be achieved by the task force. So to me, I think it is a bit too late. And as it is right now, with the onset of the collection of the signatures, we are time barred, and therefore more views cannot be noted. But if it were before the launch of the collection of signatures, then they would have been allowed to maybe chip in a few proposals into the report. But as it is right now, we are collecting signatures because we have already seen the proposals that are there in the BBI, and that is the official proposals that Kenyans are readying themselves to go to the referendum with. And therefore, I don't think there's any window of opportunity for anyone to sneak in any further proposals, Miriam.
All right. And the front pages of the Standard newspaper says 2022 elections date headache, delay fears. With the referendum set for mid next year, the country will be racing against time to implement some of the provincials contained in the BBI document ahead of 2022 polls. How will it pull off a referendum of a whole of IEBC and a boundary delimitation for 70 new constituency by August 2021, a year to election? Douglas, do we have time? Douglas.
You see, Miriam, at this particular point in time, we are in need of a constitutional moment to be able to clear some things. I have read with great concern. I have also seen Kenyans say we don't need a constitutional movement now. A constitutional movement can wait. Remember, I hold the view of the right of Kenyan to speak their mind and also to espouse what is their stand, and also talk about the issues that affect us as a people have to be listened to. But what we are experiencing today is high octane politics of hypocrisy and conmanship. Some leaders are calling their followers, and also some followers don't want to listen to the real issues without necessarily crowding it with the effects of listening to their leaders. When we had an opportunity to be able to raise these issues in over 2 years ago, we had so many people who would not have taken those views except that they listened to their political leaders. On the question of time, if we keep moving to and fro the way we are doing, and that is the intention of some politicians and also the civil society, like I think the newspaper article that said people are using delay tactics so that they can be able to prolong this thing. Because at the end of the day, if William Ruto comes today with the other day he was calling for consensus, today now he's calling for a different form of voting at the referendum, because now probably he has abandoned his consensus thing. Now he wants another time to be given an opportunity to be able to talk about a voting pattern at the referendum. We will not have time if we keep delaying this thing. We will not have time if we keep bringing up new issues. Remember, SUPKEM, is it SUPKEM or a group of leaders from the coast who are bringing their issues? I also am suggesting that people from Meru are going to take new issues to the commission, to the task force, or people from every other part of the country. But now we will not have time, Miriam, and we need to tell ourselves the truth. We will not have time if we keep going back to the drawing board every now and then. Remember, the 2010 constitution is not the best. It's not the best that we could have produced, but we produced it anyway, and it was voted and vouched for as the most progressive constitution across the world. We will not have time if we keep going to and fro, but if we go by the timelines that were set, we will be able to have a referendum in 2021 in June, and also we shall have the IBC work around the clock to be able to incorporate new constituencies across the nation, and also have an election in 2022. Again, another thing that exposes my point that we have time to do these things. What has been IBC? What has IBC been doing for the last 3 years? Most of the time, they have no time they have no work except for the small by elections here and there. So they will have time, because now they had not been working for over 3 years. They will have time to work around the clock to be able to deliver a referendum, deliver the constituencies, and also deliver an election. Because most of us work around the clock. Some work for 18 hours, others 15 hours, but we are finding very idle people at IBC for some time now. So they have a lot of work to do to deliver a constitution, a constitutional moment for Kenyans at the referendum, and also Miriam, deliver the constituencies and deliver general election in 2021.
And one of the key things that also has to be changed is the constitution of the IBC. And according to our constitution, new commissioners should be in place 2 years before our election. So that is also a headache that I think is beyond IBC. So it's not just IBC and delivering of a timely election, but also other factors that surrounds that. Let's just move on. On page 6, that story is contained on the Standard newspaper, says the push to have a referendum by June next year could occasion a change in the 2022 general election date. Political leaders and pundits now say that given the circumstances, it was unlikely that the country will have a referendum by June, implement the law, and still go for a general election in August 2022. The Standard has learned that there is a talk among some proponents of BBI to push for postponement of the elections after promulgation of the law to allow seamless transition with the creation of the 70 constituencies. All right. So what are we likely to see? Should this be, should these proposals come, to the fore? Javan.
Miriam, thank you very much for that a good question and timely question for that matter. One thing that we must agree, Miriam, whether it takes to amend the constitution and to extend the terms of the legitimate parliament that we have, of the term of the president, in order to have a good document that will work for our people, then I don't see any problem going that route. Miriam, we know even in 2010, the election was delayed for a bit.
Well, we seem to be having a problem there with the Javan signal there. Javan, when you're able to join us, please do. But Rebecca, on the same question there, what now we are seeing being suggested here is perhaps a delay of the 2022 general election so that all these things that are being intended to do will be able to be accommodated. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are just one, and it's actually a concern. Is our good president biting more than what he can chew? Because he talked about the Big Four agenda, which I thought when he was starting, it would be a build-up of the Vision 2030, because the former president had a good vision for the country. So I thought and I expected that he would work on the Big Four agenda first of all, then deliver. But now we see that he has another responsibility that he needs to deliver before 2022, which is the Building Bridges initiative. Now, talking about the general elections and the referendum question that we have, if we look at it, I think it can be done, but it will not be thorough. That is my only concern. How thorough will the process be as we do it? Yeah.
Daniel, Rebecca is concerned about the thoroughness of that very important process and saying President Uhuru Kenyatta might have bit more than he can chew. He has the Big Four agenda. And of course, he built on that from the Vision 2030. If you look very keenly on how President Uhuru Kenyatta has built on his Big Four and his legacy, he picked from where President Mwai Kibaki left, and he's been able to advance in that. When you look at the infrastructure and other things, of course, other things he's been able to do, but also we should understand where the BBI process is coming from. President Uhuru Kenyatta, from his perspective, wants to leave a united Kenya. So he's saying, if I can only achieve this one thing, then perhaps that will set stage for others to flow in successfully if you have a peaceful Kenya and we have all these things. But anyway, Daniel, did President Uhuru Kenyatta bit more than he can chew?
Miriam, recently you heard the president himself say that he doesn't think that some of the big agenda projects will be completed within his term time period as a president. And also some of the issues which are projected in the BBI report might not take a period of, let's say, like 5 years before they take root. When you look at countries like Singapore, it took Lee Kuan Yew, the first prime minister of Singapore, almost 3 decades before he was able to implement some of these virtues, some of these structures in government that saw Singapore becoming one of the fastly growing economies in the world. So therefore, I believe for the BBI reports, I believe the first quintessential step for us as a country is to make sure that, first of all, we have those constitutional changes in our constitution fully envisaged in it, so that even if the president goes into retirement in 2022, whoever will come on board as the next, as the successor of President Uhuru Kenyatta will have no otherwise but to bow to the obligation that is there in our law, so that he implements whichever laws that will have been enacted through this constitutional process. Because, Miriam, we have to agree that Kenya has been having a very, very serious perennial problem of contested elections, and it comes to always, it trickles down to the presidential election, the divisive presidential election, which are defined by the winner takes it all narrative. Therefore, there is a very, very dire need to change our constitution, to change our structures of governance, and that can only be achieved through the BBI report. So I think BBI is indispensable. And it was a very noble idea for the president to leave a country which is debating about such amendment in our constitution. Number two, on the Big Four agenda, you've just mentioned that President Uhuru Kenyatta inherited some of the projects which were a blueprint of the Vision 2030. And I believe also from where I sit that some of these infrastructural projects, such as what we are having right now, the JKA Expressway, will take a period of time before they really come to fruition. So therefore, I don't think that holistically the Big Four agenda will be completed within the president's term. And I can't say that he has more than he can chew, because that is the nature of some of these projects. They take even more than a decade to be completed, and therefore it's only upon that individual who holds the metal of leadership from President Uhuru Kenyatta to ensure that these particular projects are completed in due time.
Thank you, Kidi. As we conclude, postponement of 2022 general election, I mean, how do you think that will be received, especially in the political class? And by Kenyans, by the way. If that were to be the case. Go ahead.
Thank you. One thing I think, before I respond to your question, one thing I think we've not addressed ourselves to properly is the misinformation that people who are opposed to the BBI process, the deliberate misinformation campaign that they went into. Because one, people are telling us that our priorities are lopsided. People are telling us that our economy is in the ICU. People are telling us that we cannot talk about issues of constitutional review in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah. Truth is that the economic shocks and heat we are feeling today is not entirely because of the pandemic, but it is because of the economic mismanagement that people like William Ruto and co engineered and perfected. And now they've roped in their colleagues from the civil society, people who have always, I have immense respect for civil society, but no, there are people, there are elements within the civil society who find every opportunity to line their pockets is a welcome opportunity to dance on the graves of the people of Kenya. A case in point is my brother, Boniface Mwangi. I mean, Mwangi does not have the moral authority to lecture us about issues of what time is right to review our constitution. Because I personally still remember vividly when the police, because of a disputed presidential elections, the police descended on us and our sisters and our mothers in Kisumu, and to counter that, because we wanted to respond to the government's force with non-violence, we came up with what was called the Low Lives Matter, to tell the government that even people from the lakeside who did not entirely disagree with it still had the right to life. Indeed, Boniface Mwangi decided to counter that by coming up with what was called All Lives Matter. So that in effect, he was neutralizing and diluting the protest by people who are being brutalized by the police force. Then I have also mentioned the bile with which David Ndii is viewing the Kenyattas. So that one thing is that I think that time is always right to do what is right. Reconfiguring our political architecture so that it can carry our aspirations is something we cannot run away from. In regards to moving forward the next elections beyond 2022, well, I don't think that is necessary at the moment unless circumstances dictate that we move forward the 2020 general election. But primarily, you realize that we've been unable to address ourselves properly and timely to these issues since 2018, in part because people who are opposed to the BBI process decided to engage us in a rat race. For instance, when we wanted them to come on board and give their views, they give the process a wide berth. Now that we are almost, concluding the process, they've come up with 1,001 suggestions, which of course are intended to throw us off the path. In my estimation, and of course very humble submissions, I think that we've got to proceed, take the referendum question to the people, and if they think that they have a superior argument than we do, then let them go to the people themselves equally with their message so that we meet at the ballot, where then this question, political question, will be settled. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So Mkangi, who is a lawyer, said even with the BBI law in place next year, the country will have to contend with the recruitment of IEBC commissioners and the boundaries delimitation, a process which might face legal landmines. And add to this the transfer and fresh registration of voters, the party primaries and settling of disputes, and the actual tendering, the conducting of the elections, and you realize there is not enough time, said Mkangi. He added the challenges are numerous, including a social and economic, if timelines are pegged on the 2022 elections, if IEBC is to review, create and conduct elections which are free, fair and not contested, we are on a very slippery slope. So what Mkangi is saying, the constitutional lawyer Bobby Mkangi is saying, Javan, is that these 2022 elections must be postponed if everything that the country intends to go through between now and then was to take place. How do you see that situation playing out? Javan. All right, Douglas, as we conclude.
Miriam, extending the term of President Uhuru Kenyatta essentially, because that will be extending his term and also the term of the MPs to be able to give the IBC and everything a chance to be able to have a thorough process, like you were asking before. How thorough is that process? How thorough would that process be? Would be also a good opportunity, because there were concerns that Rebecca raised, and those are concerns of ordinary people and great people of this republic. And also, it will give us a good opportunity for us to be able to incorporate those views, and also to have a consensus, and also have a conversation with the Deputy President and his followers, because we cannot say his followers and all that. So I think if we were to extend a term, the term up to maybe 2024 or 2025, maybe we can be able to have a good opportunity to be able to implement some of development projects and also have views of Kenyans incorporated, because I think when this opportunity came for a referendum or also a constitutional moment, many people thought that this is a passing crowd, like I've always maintained, but now they have woken up and now they think this is the moment, and this is when this passes, they will have now take more than 10 years or 20 years again when they come with a BBI again to be able to move Kenya forward again and change the constitution. I think most of the people have been able to wake up, and now is the moment to be able to listen to every corner of this country. If Kenyans say that we need to extend this thing, please, Mr. President, accept we extend this thing so that you can also complete your projects that Shona said the president cannot be able to deliver now. We can be able to extend the President Uhuru Kenyatta's time so that he can deliver his development projects. And also, we can have people like Kidi Mwaga, we can have Rebecca, and also Douglas Kiremis of this world, so that we can be able to incorporate our views and those of the Deputy President. So the area about 2022 election, I agree with Bobby Mkangi. I follow him very, very well, and I read his articles. So extending that opportunity does not mean we want to extend President Uhuru's term. No, it would mean for the Kenyans to be able to change the constitution, a constitution that works for a person in Marachi, in Busia, a constitution that works for someone in Awendo, in Migori, someone in Meru, someone in Turkana. We can be able to have a constitutional moment that works for you, Miriam, as a Nairobian, works for everyone, and where our voices count. Because Miriam, we respect Mother Karua and the people in the civil society and all that. But remember, Miriam, like I said, and also I think Rebecca said, there are concerns from Kenyans. Is the economy growing? So We can also give President Uhuru Kenyatta a chance to be able to revive this economy before we go into another election, because it is costly and also it is also going to take a lot of our time. So I agree with that also, because we don't want to experience bombs at the ballot and at IBC, people going to court and also declaring that the IBC is not properly constitutionally constituted. But we can be able to extend that and do an array of issues that affect this country. One, including the economy of this country. Rebecca said, and I feel that concern because as a villager, as a rural human, as a Kenyan, I feel the effect of a battered economy and also the projects of Uhuru Kenyatta. We want President Uhuru Kenyatta to complete his term. We want William Ruto to bring his views so that if it is extended up to maybe 2025, you will have now be satisfied, so that Kenya will be satisfied with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the BBI process will come to a conclusion in 2025. So William Ruto, I welcome you as I conclude my remarks, so that we can be able to wait until 2025 to have a general election, have a properly constituted IBC, and also be able as Kenyans to have our voices heard. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Douglas, I don't think that even the people who are thinking of this postponement, they're just thoughts and some suggestions being made looking at what is happening right now. But I don't think they would want to throw it all the way to 2025. I mean, no way. And you're calling yourself the village human. That's quite interesting there. A constitution that works for Nairobians, but is working for me over here. So I'm good. Rebecca, conclude for us.
To our viewers today, thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for this moment. All I would say is read the BBI report, understanding that it is you who's getting affected. Read it being level-headed, ask the right questions. And the people who are sitting with me, my co-panelists, let us understand the responsibility that we have to lead people in a sober conversation. So let us have the interest of our country at heart as we proceed in this process.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jevon Karanja, who had a problem with his signal, but he was here with us earlier from Nanyuki. Thank you, Rebecca Orare, who is a youth leader as well as a lawyer. And from what I hear from her peers, she is a fantastic lawyer. Now, I know if I get into trouble, which I don't, but in case,
Please do.
I'll look for Kidi. I'll look for Kidi, and then I'll look for you, Kidi Maga. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Douglas Kirimi from Meru, thank you so much. And of course, Daniel Wesonga from the capital. Thank you so much. My name is Miriam Ogoto. This has been Good Morning Africa. I'll see you here at 11 a.m. where we shall be looking at another topic that is based on Zimbabwe as well as Kenya. So I hope that you shall join us then. Thank you so much for watching. Good morning.